Both my parents, my mom and dad, grew up in Egypt. They met in Egypt during university. After meeting and becoming friends, they fell in love and got married. They decided they wanted to start and raise their family in Qatar because education was good in Qatar and both of them got offers to become a doctor, so they saw themselves living there. In 2010, the thought of moving to Canada started to come to my parents' head, and it was a conversation they were having a lot at the time. There were many pull factors that contributed to my parents having thoughts about moving to Canada, such as my dad realizing that the education in Canada is better than Qatar because many of his friends' kids were more successful in school there. Another pull factor was to become a Canadian citizen. Being a Canadian citizen in 2018 is something to be very proud of. However, there were many things that made my dad have second thoughts about moving to Canada, such as leaving both their jobs. Both my parents are doctors at Hamad Hospital in Qatar. If they move to Canada, it will be very hard for them to continue their careers as doctors in Canada, as it isn't easy for them to get their medical license. Another reason would be my handball career. When I was between the ages of 12 and 14, I played for Al Garafa Sports Club youth team for handball. The summer of 2016, when I was 14, I got asked to play for the U18 Qatari handball national team. Both my parents wanted me to stay back and continue my handball career. However, they came to the conclusion that moving to Canada was a better option for me and for my future. Some push factors that my family had was all the crises happening between the Gulf countries. During 2016, Qatar had many problems with Saudi Arabia, which could eventually end in war. UAE, the United Arab Emirates, released rumors that Qatar were funding ISIS to bomb certain countries in the Gulf, which made many countries in the Gulf hate Qatar. Also, the discrimination there. In Qatar, the Qataris always had priorities over everybody else, so not everybody was treated fairly. After both my parents came to the conclusion that they wanted to move to Canada, there were many struggles throughout the process. My dad had many struggles to get his certificate accredited in Canada. Another struggle we had as a family was living in Canada with no family around us. When we lived in Qatar, we had a lot of family there. My grandparents from my mother's side lived with us, so we'd see them very often. Also, my cousins lived with me. I saw them almost every single weekend, so they were always around me. After my parents went through all the paperwork, the summer of 2014, they decided to go to Canada for landing as we were going to move there soon. We stayed there for around 2 weeks. My parents got our PR cards and opened their bank accounts with TD Canada. They also studied for their G1s, so by the time we moved there, they could get their G2 license. During the summer of 2016, we moved to the beautiful and peaceful country, Canada. We landed July 19th, 2016. When we moved, we stayed in a 2-bedroom condo in downtown Mississauga for the first few days. There were plenty of things that my parents had in mind that they wanted to do when we moved. Their number one priority was to buy a house, so we could move out our condo and a house that fit our budget. They looked at many houses in places such as Oakville, Toronto, and Mississauga. They decided they wanted to stay in Mississauga as many of their friends were telling them that there were plenty of Muslims and Arabs in the city. Many of my dad's friends told my dad that Stephen Lewis Secondary School was one of the best schools in Peel and that we should move in that area. My dad decided to buy a house in the area and apply me to Stephen Lewis Secondary School. When we first moved, we also had plenty of fun, going to places such as Wonderland on the weekend and riding the rides like the Leviathan. We also went to Niagara Falls. We stayed in the beautiful hotel, the Sheraton, where we visited the falls and took plenty of amazing pictures there. Later on, before the school year started, my dad tried to find a handball team for me to join here so I wouldn't lose my talent in handball. He took me to THO, Team Handball Ontario, for a tryout as he thought that I had the skill. I made the team, however, I only played for 2 months with them and left because my mom thought nothing would come out of handball in Canada and that I should just focus on school. Right now, it's Monday, June 11th, 2018. I live in the beautiful city, Mississauga. I go to Stephen Louis Secondary School and I live in this beautiful house. Thank you for watching my journey to Canada. I hope you enjoy it.